this weekend don't want to help out those who are hurting.
Here the good news is that white men now only make up about 36 to 37% of our population. We are the minority, and our numbers grow smaller with each election. And because of that, we'll have a better country.
And, this is...
Okay, so Michael Moore will tell you all day that white men are bad. The fact is that they're still practicing slavery in the Middle East. White men, along with some people that were captured slaves in this country, ended slavery in the United States of America. Now, my family wasn't here, but I don't hold those families that had slaves responsible for the sins of their fathers. Granted, Michael Moore knows some stuff. He's a, world-renowned writer, movie producer. He's not stupid, right? So he's playing, politics. That's what he's doing. He's picking a side, and the side is not American. It's anti-American. It's globalist, if you will, possibly. It's hard for me to say where he's coming from. But if you look at everything he's done, I was with him with Fahrenheit 9/11. I think, for the most part, I think that there's way more to that. I think there's way more to the Vegas shooting also. But to go to war in Iraq at the time, even though it was a bunch of Arabs, Saudi Arabians, that attacked us, is counterintuitive and illogical. And, I think that you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to say that the total motivation was to take out Saddam Hussein. Just like the whole motivation of the Arab Spring was to take out the people that we had put in there to set that up for Hillary Clinton and her donors from those countries, to who they thought was going to be president of the United States, to kind of get a foothold and then start to fascistly extort the rest of the world, in addition to adding to the United States to that, just like this memo is going to show, that if you're a conservative, you can't open a 503c or 501b or whatever those not-for-profit charitable organizations are, or they can't, you can't even get the Democrats to root for a tax cut, which has been proven so far, and it hasn't even really gone into effect, to help people that are working people. Unemployment's the lowest ever. I'm not going to rehash the whole speech, the whole State of the Union address, but my point is that Michael Moore isn't stupid. He knows some things. Not the least of which, apparently, is that deep-fried Snicker bars are fucking delicious. The second thing that he probably understands is that after the Second World War, there was definitely a lag in this country of justice with regard to African Americans or black people in this country. And the Soviet Union, Eastern Germany, they all took advantage of that. And when we went to war against them, they sprung part of their trap here with many of the hippies who, if you ask or talk to people who were the hippies that didn't buy into the communism part of it, that they saw, they'll tell you, I saw it. It was there. There were communist revolutionaries everywhere within the hippie movement. Now, is there anything wrong with being a communist? I mean, history shows that it generates people like Pol Pot and countries like China, where you can't speak, you can't own a gun, you can't defend yourself. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Maybe. Does that sound like what the Democratic Party's trying to do here in this country? They're saying that Nunez is a Russian infiltrator and co-opted by the Russians, when the communist globalist cabal has taken over the entire Democratic Party virtually. They want to overrun the borders to take advantage of the possibility of Cloward and Piven. If you look up Cloward and Piven, basically it is bankrupt the system and the system will collapse. Overrun it with welfare, overrun it with free stuff, and the system will collapse, and then they can take over. They'll have all their people in place. The FISA memo has put a dent in that, but I can assure you that they're still infiltrated. So back to Michael Moore. The second thing he understands is that they took advantage of that, and there was a lag, and they're trying to propagate that into the future now, right? Even though many of us aren't racist. Nobody in this country, virtually, outside of the totally infiltrated, die-hard members of the Ku Klux Klan and other white nationalist movements, think that slavery is cool, or that it was okay or just. So that kind of explains why Michael Moore is picking this side. He's picking the side that promotes all this feel good, do what you feel, you are what you think you are type of mentality, which is, that plays right into the globalist hands. And that's why I kind of think he's leaning toward globalism. If you're gay, I can guarantee you 90%, if not more, of conservatives or even religious people don't care what you do. Any real American will not care what you do in your own bedroom. Okay? As long as you're not hurting anybody. That's real American. No one will worry about what religion you practice as long as you're not hurting anybody. Like I started out, they're still selling slaves in the Middle East. The people that started the slave trade, probably before the Romans. There's a lot of black nationalists that'll tell you the Egyptians didn't have slaves. I tend not to believe that. The Romans definitely had slaves, but when this country was founded, that the Arabs had taught the Portuguese and then the Spaniards and then the Brits, and everybody learned from that. The Chinese have probably been doing slave trade forever. That's a totally controlled population. Anyway, so what you want to do, if you're Michael Moore, is talk about how bad white people are, even though, again, white people ended slavery here in this country. And perhaps there's a wage problem, and if you want to call that slavery, I would tend to disagree with you, because in this country you're free to do what you want to do, and you can continue to work that low-wage job and retrain yourself and get another profession, like I did. It's definitely possible. So the point is, right, Michael Moore, I think, is leaning globalist. He wants to, he was on Bernie Sanders' side talking about how great and how fantastical Bernie was, but the second Bernie lost the rigged election to Hillary Hitman, that was it. He was gone. He's like 100% Hillary, because there's no way that you want to have a person in the White House that has won awards from the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and they want to call him a racist and a fascist. It's totally delusional. The Democratic Party is seeing an end. I think that the FISA memo is going to bring out a lot of well, it's going to bring to light what extent they're willing to go to, not just at the IRS, but in the FBI, and who's willing to be totally co-opted and corrupted to go along, to get along, to be trendy, right? That's what Alex Jones talks about all the time, and I used to think, oh, that's just some malarkey. It's not about being trendy. It's it's all about money, or like Joe Rogan likes to say, there's no time. There's no time for the Illuminati. There's no time for the Illuminati to think about ways to divide and conquer Americans, right? There's no time for the globalist cabal to sit around and corrupt everyone in the media and buy them off. But there is time, and if you're Eddie Bravo, you just respond by going, that's right, Illuminati got kids. They ain't got time for all that. So that's one of the greatest lines I think that's ever come out of the Joe Rogan show. Anyway,
unlike ordinary toothpaste, Colgate total fights bacteria.
I think that a lot of this stuff is going to be a problem for many of these people who are in cahoots with these guys, and for them, I think if it keeps on raining like this on them, eventually the levee's going to break. Definitely raining around the globe on the globalist parade. Raining and raining. Bringing an end to their reign. Where are they going to turn then? What are they going to do? What are these globalists so desperate? What are they going to do? Are they planning something against the president? Is that what their secret society's about? Is that these motherfucking traitors' insurance policy? Motherfucking traitors. That's right. Every one of you's a motherfucking traitor, and the fucking levee's gonna break on your punk bitch asses. Fuck you.